Hey, help support the show by becoming a member on Patreon or YouTube. This is the best way to help me as a creator, and so thank you and go Cavs. All right, so there are a lot of bad takes going around right now, and even the most unfair, bad faith, hyperbolic, egregious, slanderous, disrespectful take you can imagine. It's all kind of fair game right now because of the way the Cleveland Cavaliers went out. They really have no one to blame but themselves. And you guys know me. I'm the most optimistic person on Cavs Twitter. I do my best to be level-headed and look at this, but the reality is the Cavs, they brought this upon themselves. And I mean, Donovan Mitchell even said as much in his last post-game press conference of the season. He said, no matter what we do now, everyone's going to write bad things about us, and we kind of deserve it. And so that's the reality of the situation. I'm going to go over a few of the takes that I've been seeing, and I want to break down some of my scattered thoughts on the end of the Cavs season here. But first, I want to quickly say thank you again to everyone who supported my work this season. It really meant a lot to me. And while no one is ready to look back and appreciate the Cavs season that we just had, I do think eventually we'll look back and remember this season fondly, at least the regular season, right? Can't even describe how much fun it was. But the playoffs, I mean, listen, everyone's disappointed. We all knew that none of what they did in the regular season would matter if they didn't show up in the playoffs. And when it mattered most, unfortunately, they didn't show up. And so I wanted to go through a couple of players real quick and just kind of judge how some of the key players performed in the postseason. And then we'll end the video talking about where the Cavs go from here. And we'll have plenty of stuff in the offseason, diving deeper into specific scenarios. But I'm going to be very broad and general with this video. So first off, Donovan Mitchell, nothing short of incredible. The dude played his ass off. He left everything he had out there. For the second straight postseason, you could tell that Donovan gave everything he had to the city of Cleveland. Multiple 40-point games, some of the most dominant scoring performances I've ever seen from a Cavalier. You can question some of the decision-making, especially near the Indiana series. You can wonder if he was too heliocentric, if he should have made more of an effort to be a distributor. But given the circumstances, without everyone was banged up around him and the team was practically begging for him to take over, I can't kill the dude for giving everything he had. As for Evan Mobley, I also think that he was pretty stellar throughout the postseason. He was obviously a little bit banged up with the ankle injury, but thought he still managed to be a very impactful offender, put up multiple 20-point games. If there's one positive thing that we can take away from this season as a whole, I've been saying it's Evan Mobley. He has truly made the leap. And I think he'll continue to become a star in Cleveland. The Cavs definitely should make a point of emphasis to get him the ball a little more often. I know he barely attempted more than 13 field goals in a game during the playoffs. And I know people are referencing, oh, well, that's about what he averaged in the regular season. But the thing is, we all assumed that would go up in the playoffs because he'd be playing more minutes and the games would mean more. That didn't happen this year. Definitely has to happen in the future because Evan Mobley, to me, deserves none of the blame. Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell deserve absolutely none of the blame for what happened in the playoffs. Max Strus hilariously said, if you don't believe we can come back, then don't show up to work in Game 5. And then he went 0 of 9 in the final game of the season, and that's hilarious. But with that aside, I do want to shout out Max Strus because I thought he was incredibly helpful throughout the series. And he's getting killed for that quote. He's getting clowned down, but he's still a guy who I want on the roster when the going gets tough. 0 for 9 is obviously not ideal. He was horrible in the last game of the season, but I thought he was very, very helpful overall. Now, Darius Garland, this is where the takes start to go off the rails. And this is where I got to be real with you, all right? I understand that it's been back-to-back seasons where Darius was limited due to injury. People are, making excuses, whatever you want to call it. His only healthy postseason appearance that we've seen from him is 2023. That didn't go very good either. So he doesn't have the body of work in the playoffs to support what I'm about to say, right? But I got to be real. I think you have to be a totally unserious person to look at how Darius Garland was moving against Indiana and think that reflects on the caliber of player that he is. I have to be real with this. If you want to say that he's too frail or that he gets hurt every season, that's a different discussion to be had. But if you're looking at the version of DG that we saw and pretending that he was anywhere near healthy enough to have a proper assessment of what to expect from him, then you're just flat out wrong and you're being unfair. And I know that it's frustrating. Maybe next year he comes back fully healthy and he stinks it up in the playoffs. And if that happens, we can talk about it. But until then, right now, the reason why it's frustrating is we simply don't know. we don't know what Garland's ceiling is in the playoffs because he just hasn't had a good go at it yet. He's been injured. First time when he made it against New York, he was better than people remember in 2023. I wouldn't say that he was necessarily good, but the issue in that series was that he was a little quiet. He was a little gun shy in that series. In 2022, we talk about, his bad game against Atlanta, but no one mentions the 34 points in that awesome game he had against Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, the Brooklyn Nets in the game before that. So regardless of if you're Darius Garland's biggest hater or his biggest supporter, I just truly don't think we have enough to have an answer to who he is in the playoffs yet. We need to see him healthy. He's only 24. He's had 2 of his 3 postseason experiences completely plagued by injury. And again, if you want to call that an excuse, you saw him limping around on one foot. If you think that I'm dismissing it or excusing it rather than trying to explain the individual performance that I saw, then again, you're just kind of being unserious. But let's talk about Jarrett Allen now. Here's the thing about Allen, all right? He is not the type of player, both from a talent perspective and a stylistic perspective. He is not the type of player who is going to carry you when the going gets rough. We've seen it throughout Allen's career in Cleveland. When everything around Jarrett Allen is in disarray and it's all going wrong, he is almost never the type of player who's going to pull this team out of the rut and save the day. He's not a shot creator. He's not an offensive hub. He's not mashing people on the glass or defending 1 through 5. Allen is really at his best when the rest of the team is clicking and he's filling those gaps to perfection, right? That's when he's doing his best. I'm talking rolling to the rim, catching the ball on the run, protecting the paint, making simple reads out of the short roll, grabbing rebounds when the entire team is on a string defensively. That's the best version of Jarrett Allen. You are not expecting Jarrett Allen to be the one guy who shows up and makes a huge impact all on his own. That's just not the caliber of player he is. That's not the style that he plays. Now, Allen struggled big time in games 3 and 4. I'm not running away from that at all. So if you think Allen is the odd man out of this core and he needs to be replaced, then that's where your argument can be made. But when we talk about where the Cavs go from here, I think the Cavs failing to put themselves in a position for success is the story of the season. It's why they fell apart. The Cavs abandoned their identity against Indiana. They allowed the Pacers to dictate the terms of engagement. They sped them up. They made them play an ugly one-on-one style of offense. And the Pacers took Allen completely off the board in the final 2 games by spacing the floor and keeping him contained on offense. And that's a systemic issue that results from the Cavs not running the motion offense that we saw throughout the season. The Pacers in Game 5 passed the ball more than 100 times more than the Cavs. They completed over 100 more passes, and the Cavs took 8 more shots than Indiana. So the Cavs had more possessions and finished with 100 fewer passes. The Cavs had just 10 assists in the final game of the season. So the reason they lost isn't because they were pushed around or beat up on the glass like 2023. They didn't lose like they did in 2024 because they just didn't have the blueprint for success yet. They lost this series because they were playing dumb basketball. They stopped trusting their offensive process. They had too many plays where there's one pass or no pass before the shot goes up. It was all these rushed, missed field goal attempts that led directly to run out opportunities for Indiana. And it was the snowball effect. Indiana, they made them pay every step of the way. Pacers picked them up full court. They made Cleveland struggle to get into their offense. And by the time the Cavs got past half court and were getting into their first set, there was already like less than 15 on the shot clock. It all built up to an ugly offensive series that they just dissolved into their worst habits in the final game. And plenty of that is a huge credit to Indiana. Plenty of that is a failure from the Cavs themselves. And at least some of it is the fact that Darius Garland was not able to move even at half speed. And the Cavs instead had to resort on Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, and Sam Merrill to bring the ball up the floor for long stretches of the series. So it's all part of what went wrong. Now, the last thing I want to say for this video, and trust me, we will have plenty more time to talk about off-season stuff, but I want to end here with a dose of perspective that I know some people are going to be mad at me. Some people don't want to hear this right now, but I'm telling you, if the Cavs had only won, let's say the Cavs won 52 games this season and they entered the playoffs, they're the 4 seed again, they get smoked in 5 games to Indiana, I would say, yeah, this team clearly doesn't have it. It's time to nuke this core into the orbit. They just don't have it. But that wasn't the case. The Cavs won 64 games this season. 64 wins. They were historic in the regular season. They were the best offense in the NBA. They made a leap in every single category that you would have hoped for. They earned the respect of literally everyone. We had Tim Bontemps on the pod talking about how good the Cavs are. They were favored alongside Boston and OKC to win the title this year. That wasn't on accident. The team we saw win 64 games was capable of doing far more than they did in the postseason. That's why we're all pissed off and frustrated. Whatever the ceiling was for this team, I firmly believe they did not reach it this season. Whatever they could have done in the playoffs, I think they fell drastically short. And that might sound like a, not much of a hot take, but I do not think the Cavs reached their full potential in the playoffs this year. And that's incredibly disappointing because they might never get a better opportunity than the one they just had. The East is completely wide open. I don't know how the stars could align any more perfectly than they already did this regular season, but I can certainly tell you that multiple things outside of their control went wrong for them in the playoffs, and there were many things within their control that they didn't execute nearly at the level that they did throughout the entire regular season. 4 of their 5 most important players were injured in the second round. That's not an excuse because they still should have won the series or at least pushed it to 7 in my opinion, but I just want to be clear about that before anyone starts typing in the comments. The Cavs, they should have been more competitive in this series. They still could have won this series, but to hand wave all those injuries and pretend that it's irrelevant is just ridiculous. And so now where do the Cavs go from here? The reality is no one has the right answer. A lot of people think they do. No one does, including myself. They're going to be limited by the second apron. The amount of moves that they can make are incredibly limited anyways. And I'm not entirely sure that it's a good idea to make major changes to the roster, even if you could. The reality is we've seen it with Boston, Denver, Milwaukee, basically any team that finally makes it to the promised land. They're going to fail before they reach the title. Donovan Mitchell also said this in his final press conference. He said, "Moments like this are the moments that you look back on when you make it to the top. Those moments of adversity, that's what makes you into a championship team." Now, will the Cavs ever get to that point? Will they ever overcome this adversity and win a title? Even if everything went right for them, it's impossible to say. But I can guarantee you that if that's ever in the cards for this group, then it starts by them bouncing back from this loss and becoming a better team. I think it's undeniable that they improved from their disappointing end in 2023 and 2024 to become a much better team this year in many meaningful ways. Unfortunately, it didn't go right for them in the postseason, but I do think they're a lot closer than you would think based off of the way that they just went out. And whatever comes next, just understand that the only people who can change the narrative and prove anyone right or wrong in this situation are the Cleveland Cavaliers themselves. It is entirely on them to take what just happened in the playoffs this year and either grow from it and get better or continue to tread water and collapse in the playoffs every year. But until then, no one knows the right answer. So again, thank you to everyone who supported me this season. I really, truly appreciate it. With all that being said, go Cavs.